It was just about the perfect crime.
Southern Bell operator number, please.
A theft ring that targeted one of the biggest businesses in Florida. And it was so simple.
In September 1950, Southern Bell, which was one of the baby bells belonging to the AT&T system, had most of their money coming in the form of quarters and dimes and nickels that were dropped into payphones. They would send out men to collect the quarters. They would bring them to the counting room at every Southern Bell location. And in the counting room, there was a group of women that were there only to put the quarters into the machines, and the machines would then count the quarters, and that was the only time that Southern Bell would know how much they had collected. Change room girls figured out that if they took those quarters before they dumped them into the counting machine, no one would know how much they were taking. So these girls were busy stuffing rolls of quarters into their bras. They would put as many as $150 a day, each girl, in quarters. That's a lot of quarters.
But things began to unravel when a bad judgment call from one of the bra girls would send the whole scheme into a downward spiral.
Rita Orr was one of the girls that worked in the change room, and her sister-in-law wanted to run off with her boyfriend. She stole $5,000 worth of quarters. Well, that's a lot of money. So Rita, 18 years old, called the cops. Not real bright, because when the officer showed up, he started looking around the house and he goes, "Where'd all these quarters come from?" And then one thing led to another. Betty Corrigan, one of the other girls, drove up when the police officer was there. More bad timing. He searches her car. He finds $4,000 worth of quarters. And in the house, $10,000 worth of quarters. So he starts asking the girls, and they confessed. They told him what they'd been doing for years. So he drags them all downtown and arrests them. But they can't make the charges stick, because Southern Bell had no proof of how many quarters they had, so they couldn't prove how many quarters had been stolen. Their attorney's advice was, don't sign their confessions. Let's sue Southern Bell and get back the $10,000 that was taken from the house and the $4,000 from Betty Corrigan's trunk. And then he said, let's see if we can get your jobs back.
This was a huge embarrassment for Southern Bell, and it didn't take long for the media to have a field day. Beautiful young women, lingerie, and a scandalous crime. How could they not?
Everybody was mocking Southern Bell, and it became internationally known as the case of the Clinking Brassieres. There was a company called Hidden Treasures that ended up sending all these free brassieres down to the Southern Bell Company, saying that there was no room between the bosom and the brassiere to hide quarters. And so Southern Bell was so embarrassed, they announced that they didn't want to prosecute the case. And so the state attorney told everybody, and we're going to find a way to prosecute these girls. They brought in an auditor, and according to this auditor, he could prove that $400 was missing on one particular day. It was enough for the state to file charges, but not much of charges. They charged these girls with a minimum amount of thefts so that they could get them into a courtroom and prosecute them. 3 of the girls went to trial, they got convicted, and then they were all placed on probation, and their attorney got paid in quarters.